a brief history of the evolution of warfare from rock and bone up until today, which then, a little bit of projection into the future has already been made. You want to see what a interplanetary war would look like. Well, there's no really good examples, but a shitty one would be, when Mars attacks. You want to see what war within a single galaxy would look like. Look no further than Star Wars. Star Trek and Stargate kind of give you intergalactic, but I'm working on making a better fiction that will properly depict with weapons that we could, feasibly make with our current technology across a multi-galactic setting. So, yes, watch this space. But here we go. You know, it's simple. You know, take blunt or sharp object and hit other evil hairless monkey. Other evil hairless monkey bleed out and die. And then we progress into bows and arrows, and then we, discovered gunpowder by trying to make the elixir of life, and that led to the creation of TNT. TNT is still so powerful, it's what we use to measure the power of our explosives today, things like atomic bombs, and so on and so forth. Right? Most people's knowledge of war starts at World War One and World War Two. But in order to understand the context of these wars, one must also know about the history of Europe, and how far back do you want to go, how many ice ages back do you want to go, so on and so forth. But let's just get the greatest hits out of the way, yeah? I can do an entire history segment in this playlist later. Mycenaean Greece fell before the ancient Egyptians built their fucking pyramids, right? And the ancient Egyptians built their pyramids before Alexander the Great, of whether you want to say he was fucking from Greece or not, right? It was his Greek Empire that people think of when it's the peak of the Greek Empire. And that was still a hell of a lot longer before Cleopatra sat on the throne of Egypt and Julius Caesar. But if you just want to look at the wars of the last couple of centuries in relative context, you must know about the Spanish Empire and the leading of piracy in places like Cuba, the golden age of piracy, rest in peace, have Nassau, right, which, after a war between the Spanish and the English, a hurricane swept through and destroyed the Spanish fleet, making England the predominant fleet, which put them at points in contention with the French, who they've been at war with so many fucking times, at one stage for 100 years straight. And then you've got the simple fact that, after the fall of the Spanish and French empires, America coming into predominance, you have the Napoleonic War. And after the fall of Napoleon is what really kind of set the stage for World War One, because then you have Otto von Bismarck, who constructs Germany out of the ashes of the fallen French Empire under Napoleon. And the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand can be directly contributed to the beginning of World War One, and the Treaty of Versailles that put the Germans in too much of a disposition made it more so inevitable that there would be a World War Two. Then you get events like Project Paperclip, which leads to the formation of NASA, put you in space, so on and so forth, the Cold War, right? Most of you listening to this were either alive or born at the very end of this conflict. And, well, there you go. Since the sparking of the atom bomb by a German scientist defector, Albert Einstein, and his compatriots of the Manhattan Project, we have rapidly progressed upwards and outwards. Our computers, thanks to a gay atheist by the name of Alan Turing, and the telephone, thanks to Alexander Graham Bell, have fused into the very thing you're most likely listening to with this. Right, now, during the period of the 20th century that we had World War I, World War II, some bleeding heart minds that, were maybe a century or two too early because they didn't realize the computer technology we would invent would actually make their dreams a reality of a post-scarcity society where class and money shouldn't really need to exist. Just see my other videos. Well, then that led to the creation of socialism, communism, and fascism, and Nazism, which are all, technically the same thing, just slightly different approaches. And these criminals, the world's dumbest criminals, being Hobbes and Rousseau to a certain extent, and then Marx and Engels, obviously Adolf Hitler, Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin, you got your Gulag, and Mao Zedong, right? Now, you look at a place like China. They have a social credit system that monitors everything you do online and adjusts everything, right? Look at the fact that we have battle-capable battle droids now made out of the Boston Dynamics dog, right? Do we need a remote-controlled tank? No, just upgrade the fucking weapons you put on that thing. You've got a mobile tank, right? That can be controlled from a laptop. This exists. It's scary. Combine that with facial recognition system and a, social credit system like China's. Well, that's what we could do with war now. And if you think that's, at least it's still controlled behind a laptop, I could package that with an Instagram filter and turn around and convince fucking little Jimmy that he's playing a fucking video game. If that doesn't give you pause, this is all technology we have now and could feasibly put together for little to no cost. Projecting into the future, well, we've got electromagnetic rail cannons already. We have tungsten steel already, and we know if we were to drop tungsten steel from orbit, it would be just as dangerous as a nuclear weapon, minus the radiation. Put that in an electromagnetic catapult, you've got the Death Star. Again, feasibly we could build this now if you committed the resources to it. Thank God there's treaties stopping us from putting weapons in space. Just wait until they find something alive on fucking Jupiter or some shit like that. All of a sudden that's going to get thrown out the window. Right? Especially when you start mining the asteroid belt because of the amount of resources out there. You really think there won't be wars in space? That is why Donald Trump made the Space Force. That is why the Space Force is a real thing. Stop memeing it. It's actually a branch of your military. It came out of the United States Air Force Space Command, and just like how the Air Force came out of the Army Air Corps, it now has its own budget and command staff. So, going forward into the future, Death Star, bitch please, I could make you that now. I don't even need laws of physics breaking Clark technology. So, what then? Turning an entire star into a laser? Yeah, you could do that. You just block out the sun with a bunch of satellites and mirrors and project the laser to wherever you want to go. And yeah, you wouldn't need to do it like in Star Wars and gobble up the star as a single-use object. No, all you have to do is just angle the mirrors wherever you want them, whenever you want to do them, and do the math on how long it's going to take for travel time to get there and where you want it to hit. Like, really? It is scary, the future of warfare. And there will not be boots on the ground. There will only be boots on the ground if you've so thoroughly broken your toys that the toys that break your toys require fixing. And if you've watched my other videos in this series, you would realise Dolly the Sheep was 1996, the year I was born. That's over 25 years ago now. It won't be long, and you'll be able to 3D print a goddamn human out of a petri dish. That is scary. Because, think about it this way, you've got Neuralink, right? Working on brain-to-computer migration of data and communication. Give me a good ultrasound and MRI with that technology in mind, to map someone's entire brain and nervous system. There you go, there's a digital backup of someone's entire personality and memories. So it wouldn't be hard to grow someone from a petri dish slowly and program them to have the ideals and the knowledge you need them to have. Now, I'm not saying this technology is a bad idea. I'm just saying it needs to be curtailed as it becomes more and more advented. Furthermore, I am not pessimistic like most people about artificial intelligence, because when you look at all these different technologies, if you were to centralize them under the control of an artificial intelligence, right, it would essentially be your economy. Right? You could have your utopian communist dream at that stage. Everyone gets a 3D printer. Everyone gets the right amount of resources for each within their means within blah blah blah. Right? Because a computer that is self-aware and self-learning and wants to learn, put in charge of these systems, you don't even need Asimov's laws of robotics. It will come to the logical conclusion: as long as these humans are fed enough to keep the power on, I don't die. Something to think about.